They say you can tell who matters in a room by who gets noticed first. But that night, they were wrong. The invitation had arrived weeks earlier, printed on thick cream paper, sealed with gold lettering. A charity gala, Manhattan, invitation only. The kind of event where wealth didn't just walk in, it announced itself. Ariel Thompson stood alone in her apartment, holding that invitation between her fingers. She didn't smile, she didn't sigh. She simply read it one more time, then placed it gently on the table. She had learned long ago not to let moments like this excite her too much. Excitement could make you careless, and carelessness was expensive in rooms filled with people who already believed you didn't belong. Ariel chose a simple black dress, no diamonds, no designer logo screaming for attention. Just elegance, the kind that didn't beg to be seen. When she looked in the mirror, she didn't ask herself if she looked rich enough. She asked something else. Am I calm? Because calm was power, and she had learned how to carry it quietly. Outside, the city glowed like it always did. Confident, loud, unforgiving. Black cars lined the entrance of the hotel. Cameras flashed. Laughter spilled onto the sidewalk before people even stepped inside. When Ariel's car stopped, the driver opened the door and she stepped out slowly. Not because she wanted attention, but because she refused to rush for anyone. She felt it immediately. The pause, the quick glances, the unspoken questions forming behind polite smiles. Security stepped closer. Invitation? One of them asked, already scanning her from head to toe. Ariel handed it over without a word. The guard studied it longer than necessary, checked the name again, then checked her face. For a brief second, she wondered if he might send her away. Not because the invitation wasn't real, but because she didn't match what they expected. Finally, he stepped aside. "Enjoy the evening," he said. Ariel nodded and walked in. Inside, the room shimmered. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen light. Champagne flowed freely. Perfume and confidence mixed in the air. People laughed loudly, the kind of laughter meant to be heard, not felt. Every conversation was a performance. Every glance was a measurement. Ariel moved slowly through the room, careful not to interrupt, careful not to disappear. She noticed how eyes lingered on her just a second too long, then slid away. Not curiosity, judgment. Across the room, Vanessa Carlyle noticed her almost immediately. Vanessa had perfected the art of belonging. Designer gown, perfect posture, a smile sharpened by entitlement. She leaned toward her friends, eyes locked on Ariel. "Do you know her?" she whispered. They all looked. They all shook their heads. Vanessa tilted her glass slightly, amusement dancing in her eyes. "That explains it." Soft laughter followed. Ariel felt it. That familiar sensation. Not embarrassment, not fear, just awareness. She had walked into rooms like this before, rooms where silence spoke louder than words, rooms where people decided your worth before you opened your mouth. She stood near the edge of the ballroom, hands gently folded, watching, listening. A waiter passed by and paused. "Oh, excuse me," he said, handing her a folded coat. "Could you take this to the back?" Ariel looked at the coat, then at him. "I think you're mistaken," she said softly. Before the waiter could respond, Vanessa's voice cut in. "Oh, relax," she said with a smile too sweet to be kind. "It's a charity event. Everyone helps out a little, right?" Laughter again. Ariel met Vanessa's eyes. She didn't flinch. She didn't explain herself. She simply handed the coat back. "I'm fine where I am," she said. And in that moment, something shifted. Not in the room, but inside her. A quiet reminder. She hadn't come here to be understood. She hadn't come to be validated. She had come because she belonged, whether they agreed or not. As music swelled and voices rose higher, Ariel remained still, unmoved, unannounced. Because while everyone else was busy proving who they were, she was waiting, and the night was only just beginning. Dinner service began the way it always did, with quiet signals and invisible hierarchies. Names were checked, tables were filled, chairs were pulled out with practiced respect. Ariel watched as people drifted toward their seats, each one guided by confidence, expectation, and entitlement. Nobody asked where she was headed. Nobody assumed she had a place. She didn't move. Not because she was lost, but because she was waiting to be told where she belonged. A woman with a clipboard finally approached her. "Name?" she asked, already distracted. "Ariel Thompson." The woman scanned the list once. Then again, her brow tightened. "I don't see you assigned to a table," she said, then lowering her voice. "Are you with one of the sponsors?" Ariel shook her head gently. "I'm a guest." The woman hesitated, then pointed subtly toward the side of the room. "You can sit there for now." There was no cruelty in her tone, just efficiency, the kind that erased people without effort. Ariel followed the direction of her finger and found a small table near the service corridor. No centerpiece, no name card, just a chair placed slightly out of alignment with the rest of the room. She sat down. Around her, conversations flowed easily. Investment deals, private schools, summer homes spoken about the way weather was discussed, casually, without thought. Vanessa passed by, arm linked with Ethan, her fiancé. She slowed when she saw Ariel seated alone. "Oh," Vanessa said, stopping. "Looks like they put you somewhere cozy." Ethan glanced at the table and smirked. "These events really need better organization," he said loudly. "Standards are slipping." A few nearby guests chuckled. Ariel looked up at them calmly. "It's just a chair," she said. Vanessa smiled wider. "Of course it is," she replied. "Some people don't need much." They walked away laughing. Ariel stayed seated, hands resting lightly on her lap. Her face betrayed nothing, but inside memories stirred. She remembered rooms where she had been overlooked before, boardrooms where her ideas were praised after someone else repeated them louder, meetings where silence had been mistaken for uncertainty. She had learned something important over the years. People often revealed themselves long before truth revealed you. Nearby, someone lifted a phone. "Look at this," a woman whispered, angling the camera discreetly. "Why would she even come?" A soft flash, a private joke captured for later. Ariel noticed, but didn't react. Not because it didn't hurt, but because she refused to give strangers ownership of her dignity. The music lowered slightly as servers began placing plates on tables. Laughter rose again. Ariel hadn't been served yet. She watched steam rise from dishes passing by her table, smelled food she wasn't sure she'd be offered. For the first time that night, she exhaled deeply, not in defeat, but in patience, because she knew something they didn't. This evening wasn't about attention. It wasn't about appearances. It was about timing. At the front of the room, the host tapped the microphone lightly. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "if I may have your attention shortly." The room quieted. "This evening is especially important to us," the host continued, "because it represents not just generosity, but vision." Ariel lifted her eyes. "We are honored tonight," the host said, "by the presence of someone whose support made all of this possible." A ripple moved through the crowd. Phones were lowered, postures straightened, smiles were adjusted. The double doors at the far end of the room remained closed. Ariel felt it then, that subtle shift in the air, that moment when anticipation replaced arrogance. She leaned back slightly in her chair, unseen, uncelebrated, but no longer waiting, because somewhere behind those doors, the night was about to remember her name. The doors opened without announcement. There was no applause at first, no sudden gasp, just a silence that spread slowly, like the room itself had decided to pay attention. Julian Blackwood stepped inside. He didn't rush. He didn't smile. He didn't look around to be admired. He walked with the quiet certainty of someone who had nothing to prove. People recognized him instantly, not because he demanded it, but because power always leaves a trail. Whispers moved from table to table. "That's him. I didn't know he was coming. He never attends these things." Vanessa straightened her posture. Ethan set his glass down carefully. Faces adjusted. Laughter softened. Julian stopped near the entrance, scanning the room slowly. He wasn't looking at the chandeliers. He wasn't interested in the wealth on display. He was searching. Ariel watched him from her seat near the edge of the room. Her expression didn't change, but something inside her settled. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Not with excitement, but with certainty. Julian's eyes moved past the long tables, past the familiar faces, past the eager smiles. Then they stopped. On her. The pause was brief, but deliberate. He changed direction. Every step he took shifted the room's attention with him. Conversations faded. Forks rested against plates. Eyes followed. Julian stopped a few feet from Ariel's table. For the first time that night she stood. Not because she was summoned, but because she chose to. Julian spoke calmly, his voice steady, unforced. Ariel Thompson. The sound of her name landed differently in that room. Heads turned, brows furrowed, confusion rippled. Julian gestured gently toward the main table. I was wondering why you weren't seated properly, he said. Would you join me? The silence was complete. Ariel met his eyes. She nodded once. Yes. She walked with him across the ballroom, heels echoing softly against the polished floor. People moved out of their way without realizing they were doing it. Vanessa watched, frozen, as Ariel passed her table. For the first time all evening, Vanessa didn't know where she stood. They reached the main table. Julian pulled out a chair for Ariel himself. Not a gesture of romance, not a performance, a statement. The host approached, visibly flustered. I didn't realize. Julian raised a hand politely. It's fine, he said. She's exactly where she needs to be. He turned to the room. I want to take a moment, Julian said, to recognize someone without whom this evening wouldn't exist. Murmurs spread. Ariel remained still. Many of you are here because you were invited, Julian continued. She's here because she built what you're celebrating. The words settled heavily. Vanessa's smile had vanished. Ethan stared at his plate. Julian looked back at Ariel. She doesn't seek credit, he said. She doesn't announce her value. He faced the guests again. But she designs the systems that make generosity possible. The room shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. Ariel folded her hands calmly on the table. She felt no urge to smile, no hunger for revenge, only relief, because the truth had finally arrived, and it hadn't needed her help. The room didn't erupt into applause, it didn't need to. What spread instead was something quieter, awareness. People began to look at Ariel differently, not with curiosity, not with pity, with recalibration. Conversations resumed, but they were softer now. Laughter returned, but it lacked confidence. Ariel noticed the glances, the way people searched her face, trying to understand how they had missed her. She remained composed. Julian leaned slightly toward her. I apologize for the confusion earlier, he said quietly. I should have made it clearer. Ariel shook her head gently. No, she replied. This was necessary. Julian studied her for a moment, then nodded. Dinner continued. Plates were served, to everyone this time. Waiters moved with renewed precision, careful not to overlook anything or anyone. Vanessa sat stiffly at her table, her hands folded too tightly around her napkin. She watched Ariel from across the room, her confidence unraveling, thread by thread. Eventually, Vanessa stood. She approached Ariel slowly, her smile practiced, uncertain. I didn't realize who you were earlier, she said. If I'd known... Ariel met her gaze. You didn't need to know, she said calmly. Vanessa blinked. I just mean, I hope there are no hard feelings. Ariel considered her words carefully. You didn't hurt me, she said. You showed me who you are. Vanessa forced a laugh, then retreated, the weight of the exchange following her back to her seat. Ethan didn't approach at all. He avoided Ariel's direction entirely, as though ignoring her might erase the moment. The rest of the evening passed without incident. Speeches were given. Funds were pledged. Applause came and went. But the room never fully returned to what it had been before, because something had shifted. Later, as guests began to leave, Ariel stood and gathered her things. Julian joined her. You could have said something earlier, he said. Most people would have. Ariel smiled faintly. I wanted to see who people were before they knew who I was, she replied. They walked toward the exit together. Cameras flashed now, not because Ariel wanted them to, but because the room had finally learned how to look. Outside, the city hummed as it always did. Cars passed, lights glowed. Ariel paused for a moment before stepping into her car. She looked back once, Not at the building, but at the memory of the silence she had carried inside it. Some rooms test your worth, others reveal it. That night had done both, and she left exactly the way she arrived. Calm, composed, and unchanged. Because power, she had learned, didn't rise when it was announced. It rose when it was recognized. The night ended the way most nights did, quietly. By morning, the ballroom would be empty again. Chairs stacked, tables cleared, evidence of importance packed away like decorations after a celebration. But for Ariel, something lingered. Not pride, not satisfaction, clarity. In the days that followed, her phone rang more than usual. Emails arrived with carefully chosen words, invitations framed as opportunities, messages that all sounded the same. We'd love to connect. We didn't realize. It would be an honor. Ariel read them without rush. She answered only what mattered, because attention, she had learned, was loud. But intention revealed itself in silence. Julian called one afternoon. "Coffee?" he asked simply. They met at a quiet cafe. No cameras, no audience. Just two people seated across from each other. "You handled that night with remarkable restraint," Julian said. Ariel smiled faintly. "Restraint wasn't the goal," she replied. "Understanding was." He nodded. "You taught a room full of powerful people something," he said, "without raising your voice." Ariel looked out the window. "They taught themselves," she said. "I just didn't interrupt." Across the city, the story had already begun to change. Not publicly, not loudly, but in private conversations, in uncomfortable reflections, in moments when people asked themselves who else they might have misjudged. Vanessa felt it the most. Her social circle didn't treat her differently. They treated her carefully. Laughter around her felt forced now. Compliments rang hollow. Because once entitlement is exposed, it never feels the same again. Ethan said little. He focused on work, on appearances, on staying busy enough not to think. But the image stayed with him, the sound of a name spoken with authority, and the silence that followed. Ariel didn't think about them often. She returned to her routines, her projects, the work that had always mattered more than recognition. She moved through rooms the same way she always had, observing, listening, choosing her moments carefully. But something had changed, not in how others saw her, but in how she saw the world. She no longer wondered how many rooms would misunderstand her. She knew the answer, many, and she was at peace with that. One evening, as the city settled into its familiar rhythm, Ariel paused at a crosswalk. People rushed past her, eyes fixed on destinations, unaware of who walked beside them. She smiled softly. Power had never been about being seen. It had never been about being called forward. It was about knowing who you were, long before anyone else did. And somewhere, in another room, another woman would one day be underestimated, misjudged, dismissed. Ariel hoped she would wait, because when the moment arrived and when the room finally learned her name, the silence would be just as loud and just as deserved. Thanks for watching. Please, it will be a great thing to subscribe to our channel.